Actually, I thought it was pretty rural. I thought, yeah, I guess my perception of China was it was a rural area. I just didn't really know much about it. I didn't do much research at all. From what I knew was basically mostly from the elevator life. And once I got out here, once I got to China, I was pretty shocked to see how modern it was. Like some of the infrastructure, especially like transportation, is much better than the U.S. Subway systems and just the high rises. So that was, yeah, that was pretty surprising to me. So the few times I've been there before was 2 weeks at a time, and it was going back and forth between Hong Kong and the mainland. And it was every time also was went to the Canton Fair and also the Hong Kong Gift and Payment Show. So most of my time was spent going to trade fairs, just pretty busy doing that. And just, I guess so I had my plate full every time I went there, between going to the fairs all day and then meeting up with people afterwards. And it was a good experience. Definitely, Canton Fair was something I've never experienced before. I've been to trade shows, but nothing like that magnitude. And definitely, yeah, definitely, I learned that for the first time when I went was to make sure you go there with a purpose. Because the first time I thought I had a purpose, and I was like looking at different products and totally got sidetracked and left probably with a backpack full of like 5 pounds worth of collateral material. They're hanging out. And so that was definitely very interesting the first time, and the second, third time was more focused. My plan was to come to China for 3 months and to go to move to Shenzhen. I went to Shenzhen. I was looking for places to live before I got started with anything else. Before I visited factories, before I even actually let them know I was there, I wanted to get settled in, and I found myself actually kind of avoid Shenzhen, going to different areas like Zhuhai, Hong Kong, Guangzhou. I just couldn't really get acclimated. Every previous time I was spending time in business hotels, and this time I was staying in Airbnb, different hotels, and looking for a place to live. And I couldn't really find any. I just basically wasn't comfortable there. And so the reason I moved there actually was to work on a new product. I'd started back in September. The samples were just pretty terrible, and rather than going back and forth, I wanted to be on the ground there. And one of the problems I had with that factory is I found out they took that product, which they've never produced before, or actually this version of the product, and were showing it at a trade show. I'd actually sold this product to a company in Dubai, and I wasn't really happy about that. And I was actually wanted to make sure I had some like insurances as far as like intellectual property. And I haven't moved forward on that product because that's my like a big worry. Like I've gotten like lots of different advice about that, whether to get a contract, don't like there's no point in getting a contract because I won't be able to force it. So that's kind of prevented me to go forward on that project. So I basically said forget that, came to Taiwan, and then started on something else I was already doing, and then go from there. I joined in China, I think in 2014. Well, the inner China community has been pretty invaluable. Just from a large part of it is just meeting the people that are already in China and like finding my way around and learning about the different customs, such as like business customs, and especially like finding my way around. Like you can really get lost. Like you spend a whole day like just trying to find your bearings. Like simple stuff, where to go to eat or where to a good place to stay. So that was like one of the most important things at first, is like to help me find my bearings, like show me around. And then the second part was like, the business perspective. And there's some people in China that's been pretty valuable, a lot of experience that's been helpful. Before, well, I never had a network in China, and that would be something that would be hard to, something hard to put together. Like you just can't come to China and like say go down to the expat area and start meeting a whole bunch of people like off the bat, like in one day. Like, I'm sure you could do it over a matter of time, but from day one, I had a network in China, and that was the most valuable thing so far. From the WeChat discussions and the Facebook discussions, having the community, definitely have the community to be able to ask questions, and also seeing people's, I don't know, just seeing what people have done and what they failed at, and how they corrected that, and what they've actually, is like what they know. Like something, for instance, something that was interesting that just popped up last week on, I think it was WeChat or Facebook, was talking about the red stamp, and that's like something that I'm a member of different communities on like Facebook, doing different stuff like FBA, and I've never seen that topic actually broached ever before. So I thought that was interesting, and I never really thought about it. It was kind of funny because last week when I was out visiting a factory, we were about to leave, and then his secretary handed him a stack of paperwork. He's like, "Oh, come in my office," and he takes out the red stamp, and it was just like, telling me how important this was. And I never realized that before. Then I still kind of like, it's like, okay, it was great, he has a red stamp. And then when I saw the discussion in one of the groups, or in the Inner China group, it's like, oh, it hit me. It was like, okay, it is. I didn't know how important it was. I think Rico mentioned that it was like, if you don't have the red stamp, if you have like all the voting shares or the majority of the voting shares, you don't have any power in the company.
Right.
That's something I didn't even understand.